Kapitan Heinrich Schulz's hand trembled as he penned his latest entry, the scratching of his pen eerily loud in the suffocating silence of his cabin. The flickering light cast long shadows across his haggard face, deep lines etched by stress and lack of sleep. We've evaded detection again, but at what cost? Schulz muttered to himself as he wrote. The boat groans, overstressed. Yet it's not the creaking metal that terrifies me now. It's the whispers in the dark, the moving shadows, and the bone-deep cold no blanket can ward off. He paused, listening intently. The usual hum of the U-boat's engines seemed off, somehow discordant. Shaking his head, Schulz continued writing. The crew. God help us, they're changing. Krause's eyes have grown unnaturally large, reflecting light like a cat's. Weber's developed patches of scales along his neck. He claims they help him sense pressure changes. Hoffman's fingers have elongated, with thin webbing forming between them. He operates the controls with terrifying efficiency now. Schulz's gaze darted to the small mirror affixed to the bulkhead. His own reflection stared back, shadows under his eyes and a week's growth of beard on his chin. But was there something else? A hint of change in his own features? He quickly looked away, unable to bear the scrutiny. I fear looking in the mirror, he wrote, dreading what I might see. Young Helga Goebbels. That child unnerves me most. She speaks of cosmic horrors with an eerie calmness. I'm starting to wonder if she's the only sane one among us. A soft tap at his cabin door made Schulz start, his pen leaving a jagged line across the page. Heart pounding, he opened it to find Helga, her eyes wide and unblinking in the dim corridor light. Herr Kapitan, she said, her voice unnaturally steady. They're coming, the dark ones from the deep. They hunger for our sins. Schulz suppressed a shudder, feeling the hairs on the back of his neck stand on end. Helga, you shouldn't wonder. Where are your parents? The girl's lips curled into an unsettling smile that seemed to stretch too wide for her young face. May 13th, 1945. The transformations accelerated. Führer, in a fit of desperation, tried to cut away the gills forming on his ribcage. The wounds wept a luminous blue fluid that seemed to move with a life of its own. We had to restrain him to prevent further self-harm. Dr. Braun, our physician, attempted various treatments to halt or reverse the changes. His latest concoction, a mixture of our dwindling medical supplies and what I suspect might be his own blood, caused Müller to convulse violently. When the seizure subsided, Müller's eyes had tripled in size, pulsing with an inner light. He claimed to see spectra beyond human perception, the horrors he described. I pray they're merely hallucinations. We tried to send out distress signals, but our equipment malfunctioned in the most disturbing ways. The radio emitted sounds like 1,000 souls wailing in agony instead of our voices. When we surfaced briefly to signal with the deck gun's flash, the stars above weren't our familiar constellations, but twisted alien patterns that hurt the mind to perceive. The ocean pulsed with bioluminescence in impossible colors. We dove again immediately, but the image is seared into my mind. May 14th, 1945. Hitler has become even more unhinged. He paces the corridors, muttering about cosmic alignments and the Great Ascension. Eva trails behind him, her once pristine appearance now a disheveled mess. Her hair seems to move on its own, like pale tentacles framing her gaunt face. I've sealed this log in a waterproof container, ready to jettison through the torpedo tube. If anyone finds this, heed my warning, do not attempt rescue. The horrors contained within this hull must never reach the surface. May 15th, 1945. One night, as I lay in my bunk, trying to fight off sleep and the nightmares it brought, I heard a sound that chilled me to my core. It was a deep, reverberating tone, more felt than heard. It resonated through the hull, making the metal vibrate in sympathy. I rushed to the control room to find Panic. The sonar operator, ashen-faced, reported, "Capitan, something massive out there. It's singing." The U-boat shuddered. Lights flickered, and I glimpsed shadow tentacles reaching through solid metal. When my vision cleared, Helga stood before me, her eyes now solid black orbs. "They're here, Herr Capitan," she said, her voice layered with inhuman tones. "The Dark Ones have come to collect. We are the offering, the sacrifice to appease the ancient hunger of the deep." As alarms blared and the crew scrambled, I realized our journey was never about escape. We'd been drawn here by forces beyond comprehension. The U-boat is no longer just a vessel of metal and men, but a cocoon of transformation. What will emerge when we reach our final destination, I dread to imagine. My final journal entry, scrawled with a shaking hand. The abyss gazes back, and we are found wanting. May God have mercy on our souls, for the things that wait in the deep surely will not.